Welcome. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, thank you so much for joining, Fahed, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Well, it's a joy. We've been working together, of course, with the beautiful Unity program at Zain. And I always start the podcast by explaining why I was inspired to invite you. And apart from us having, this super cool journey together, for me, it's twofold. One is I think you're just a beautiful human being. And I like to, spread some more positive energy with the world. But for me, on top of that, just for the listeners, you're 24.
25 now.
Ooh,
it's been a year.
Mea culpa. 25. And I've worked with several high potentials, but you are also there definitely for me on a very different level. So I've been really impressed by, we're going to talk about how you took on this role. My hat's off to you. So those are the reasons why I invited you.
Thank you so much. And it would not have been possible without the many supporters, yourself included, of course.
My pleasure. All right, as always, let's just start a bit about your personal journey. So where did you start from growing up, studying, until where you ended up right now?
Sure. It's not going to be as long a journey as some of your other podcast interviewees, but I'll do my best. So starting with university, I studied in Boston University, and I did mechanical engineering. To be honest, the reason that I selected mechanical engineering was purely out of being told that you're good at physics and math, hence engineering makes sense. Yeah. So I just applied to a bunch of universities with varying engineering degrees. Some were mechanical, some were computer. I think I had chemical at one of the universities as well. And then I got accepted into Boston, and I just felt like this is the right choice for me. And I went there, and it was an incredible experience, especially the people.
Specific reasons you go to US, if I had, or?
I had never been.
Okay.
My family traditionally is a European vacation family. So we've been all around Europe, but we have never been in the States, and I sort of wanted to explore what that would look like.
Nice.
And I am very grateful that I did. The academics, maybe I haven't enjoyed so much, but the people and connections that I built there were something that I'll be forever grateful for. Yeah. And then I graduated, came back home. My first job out of university was with a construction company. We were working on building a bridge near one of the popular malls here in Kuwait. And I only lasted, give or take, 3 or 4 months. It was a bit too slow for me. The work was almost mundane. You'd show up at 4 a.m., you'd create a quick check-in on the progress that was done the day before, and then do nothing for like 6 hours, and then another check-in at the end of the day. So it just wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So I took advantage of those 6 hours and sort of shot my CV all around the country and even outside the country. And then one day I got a call from Zain, and it was actually after I quit my job with the construction company. And they told me that, hey, you applied to this program. It's called Generation Z. At that point, honestly, I didn't remember. I'd sent my CV to like hundreds of places. So I was like, and then the person on the call told me, yes, you did, and asked me a couple of quick questions. Do you speak English? Are you comfortable with traveling? I said yes and yes, and I sort of fell into Zain, and I am extremely grateful for the way that it's worked
Universe.
Out. Extremely. So
maybe if I share also a bit about what is Zain for people who don't know Zain, just so they have a bit of context.
So I work at Zain. Zain is a telecommunications company across the Middle East, one of the largest in the Middle East, and actually the first that was launched in the region. Today Zain operates in approximately 8 countries, and they've expanded from telecommunications to now a bunch of technological offerings ranging from fintech to insurtech to tower companies. We're growing, and hopefully continue to do so.
Thanks.
So that's Zain, and Zain is one of the bigger brands in the country. So I was very honored to be selected for such a program. And originally, I didn't know much about the graduate development program, but that was due to my sort of weak network in Kuwait. So studying in the States gave me a strong advantage with meeting people across the region and in the States, but I sort of missed out a little bit on understanding in Kuwait what would be the best program. So in my circle, we weren't very familiar with the program. But I got in. It seemed very promising. I first met during the assessment week my current chief, Maryam Saif, and I saw the incredible potential that this program holds. So I tried my best during the assessment week. It was an intensive selection process, but we made it through. And been
What
in Zain
resonated with
since
you
then.
from the program, Fahed?
So during the assessment week or during the program itself?
So what you mentioned that you felt there's a lot of potential there. What potential did you feel?
So first, we were in a meeting room that was very modern. So I got the sense of, moving from a construction site that was literally in a sandlot to an office with this big screen and all glass was a bit of an upgrade.
Because you
But
have
then
pretty low standards.
at that point, I did. Now my standards have been destroyed for any other company that if I ever work at, because Zain is just amazing. But also the people. So I was being interviewed by a person who works with Zainiac, our internal innovation program. And for me, innovation was such an exciting word and an exciting place to consider working at, because at that point, all I'd known was engineering and construction. So to hear things that are outside of that world and to sort of identify the potential of expanding what I was working on was a very exciting thing. And it included travel. And I had always considered that I'd want to be a pilot like my father. So that was added benefit to why I would have selected the program at that stage.
Nice.
So yeah, I felt like, yes, I want this.
Yeah.
And then I got this. And the whole year was incredible. We learned so much. We were thrown in the deep end with the projects and programs, and that really helped us develop. We were given big projects, and that sort of enabled us to try to picture ourselves in this whole new situation, because at that point we had basically zero experience. And they started with teaching us a bit about growth mindset. So that is one of the first trainings I've ever received, and I believe to date one of the most influential on my mindset and my career development, because it really opened up my eyes to a new way of looking at myself and the world around me.
Can you give one concrete example?
So, for example, I told you in the beginning that I went into engineering because I was told I was good at physics and math. And I always saw myself as this analytical science numbers person.
Rational.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Never considered myself creative or potentially even innovative. But with the growth mindset, it sort of enables you to look at it as though even if you are starting out down here, the potential is still there, and just choosing to get better at a thing will allow you to get there. So it sort of flips it from this is my ceiling at this subject to this is actually my floor, and I can develop past any person within the same subject. So that sort of changed the way that I framed things, and mainly around creativity, to be honest. Which is why my first role in Zain out of Gen Z was explicitly on innovation. So I joined the Zainiac team, and super excited to get into it, because it was this new, exciting, a lot of movement happening area. And moving from the construction company to that, for me was, this is exactly what I want. Exactly. So I got into the team. It was initially a team of 2, but then with me joining and then another person joining, we expanded to a team of 4, explicitly looking at internal innovation. And I was very empowered to be able to share my opinion and my strategy and sort of form the program and add my sort of twist to it. And that's what helped me fall in love with Zain, is that if you have an idea and if you have the ability to push it forward, people will listen and they will support you getting there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a very incredible thing to have, and I'm extremely grateful for it. And we did. We together, us four, went from this new program that basically had zero traction for a few months to, by the end of the year, having 600 ideas across the operation and incredible traction across the group. And it was a super exciting time to generate all these ideas.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved my time with innovation. And then came an opportunity with youth. So I wanted to sort of take ownership over something on my own. I wanted a bit more of this freedom and being able to create a further impact. I felt like with innovation, we built the impact. It will continue, and it has continued, thankfully. And I wanted to try on a new challenge, and youth was that challenge. I was given a clean slate. We have this program called Zain Youth, but it hadn't really had much under it as in terms of structured programs. So I took it over, and we built a new strategy for it and a new direction that will support the youth in developing both at Zain and outside. So being in the Middle East, our region is one of the most youthful populations in the world, and we have a rising youth unemployment issue, and for me these are very important subjects, and being given a platform to be able to sort of address that and support our youth in preparing for tomorrow that they might not be ready for yet was an incredible opportunity for me. So I jumped at it, and I've been working on that since. And then came this little thing called, at that point it wasn't even called Unity. We got a little bit of a challenge, and Mariam approached me, and she was like, we got this challenge. It's to infuse customer experience into the DNA of every Zainer. And I forgot what it was called initially, but it was something around impact, I believe. But it wasn't called impact, it was something different. And I was excited. It was a new thing, and I saw the potential for it because, especially personally, I struggled a lot with customer experience moving back from the States, because I felt like there was a lot of difference, let's say, in the way that digital services, especially, provide for their clients here versus in the States. So I was more than happy to get on board, and at that point it was just an idea, and we had no idea what we were going to do with it. So Mariam and myself sat with each commercial officer across the operation, Jordan, Kuwait, Sudan, Saudi, and we ended with Kuwait actually, with Mishal. And Mishal came up with a few recommendations. So initially Mariam and I were thinking we're going to launch sort of initiatives within each operation to sort of bring people up to the level of customer experience that we wanted, but it was very tailored and not quite, let's say, extensive in scope, and more of a band-aid than a perpetual solution. But with Mishal, he recommended we contact a couple of people, and I'm very grateful that he did. And me and Mariam sat with yourself and Professor Daniel Cable, and the rest is history. So we had those meetings, and then we talked about the various goals that we had and how we wanted to proceed. And actually, I would love to hear from your perspective, what was that meeting like? What did you get out of that in terms of what we were hoping to achieve?
Yeah, for me, what resonated with me from the minute I talked to... First I was talking to Mashal and Mariam, indeed. Mm-hmm. And for me, every person I've met during that meeting, but also afterwards, is that we so much share the same purpose. For me, purpose immediately comes to mind, right? Mm. And I'm getting goosebumps again thinking about it. So it really felt like we want to enhance purpose through customer experience. Well, then you already won me over super easily. And that was even confirmed in my interview back then with Nawaf, right, the CEO of Zain Kuwait. Yeah, we just had a beautiful conversation, and yeah, we took it from there, as you mentioned. So yeah,
that's just great. It's crazy looking back at it as to what came originally as just hey, it might be initiatives here and there to what Unity is today, and the sort of way that it happened is tremendously exciting and gratifying as well. I think I would say it's amazing to think of the impact that this program has built over the course of the past year and a month.
Yeah. I think the
so
first conversation we were in March, right? We did the kickoff in April. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a heck of a journey. It's been a busy year, but a great year as well.
And so for people listening, how would you sort of summarize Unity so they know a bit about the scope of the program?
Yeah, so we said we started this as an idea of infusing customer experience into the DNA of every Zainer. Today, Unity, a lot clearer, is a culture transformation program that aims to transform Zain from a customer-centric organization to a purposeful, human-centric organization. What does that mean? That means we have three key pillars. We have the employee, our Zainers, we have the customer, and we have purpose. So with these three pillars together, we aim to build this purposeful, human-centric organization through various modules and various experiences that we're tracking across these three pillars and across our operations. Today we're operating in Kuwait, Iraq, Bahrain, and Jordan, and with hopes to hopefully by the end of the year cover a lot more of our operations as well. And so we started this journey with Kuwait. It's our flagship operation. And since then, we've been developing with yourself, of course, various modules that we are now implementing across the other operations with slight amendments based on what we learned in Kuwait, as well as tailored to the taste and to the competency as well of the operation that we're working with now.
And I think one of the topics that we often talk about, because we're talking about CX transformation, right, in essence, and how do you do that successfully? And for me, always one of the key topics is the role of leadership, and a lot of CX professionals struggle with that, right? You often hear them complaining about, leadership is not involved. Can you share a bit about your perception of the importance, but also how was that within Zain?
Of course. So importance, honestly, goes without saying. Without the leaders being on board, I don't think that you can even hope to attempt a CX transformation, especially at the scale that we're going for. But with Zain, that's not even an issue. It's rather the exact opposite. So our leadership has been extremely on board with the entire program. They've wanted to add to the program, and then they've been fully on board in not just sponsoring it by name or in a conference here and there in a town hall or an email, but rather they've been engaging with the leadership below them and then scaling down to everybody within the organization to ensure that everybody feels this ownership over this transformation, that we want to transform the organization together. So starting from the inside, and the leadership was critical in building that sense.
And did you have a sense for people who are listening? Do you have a golden tip on how you can engage them and make it tangible for them?
So, let's bring it to CEOs. CEOs are very, very, very busy people.
Yes.
And more often than not, they're looking to change for the better. And to guide them is to give them clear sort of direction on what is expected of them or how they can support, as well as what the goals are for the program to ensure that they are aligned with those goals as well. And then getting them to open up. And that's open up in two ways. One is in participate actively. So be it, for example, the tiny habits, have them advocate for it. That's one on open up. Two is present themselves as human. And that was done with the podcast beautifully. Again, when we're talking CEOs, especially in organizations that are very vertical, they're seen as my manager's boss.
Yeah.
So there's very little
distance there.
a little bit. So you can't really see them as this human being, and then you might not engage with them, or you might not even relate to what they're saying. It's just you have KPI, and that KPI is what you deal with, not with this direction of this organization as a whole. When you want to sort of build that connection, you have to make that person more human, or at least appear more human.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that was done incredibly with Unity, with Nawaf, with Emre, soon with Ammar and Fahed. is that they're seen as these human beings with lives and with journeys that got them here, and it builds the connection with them, but also a bit of hope and growth within the people watching. So to see that this person grew up in Zain for the past 25 years and got there from the call center or whatever way that they got there is very motivating for the person today in the call center or the engineer that's working in radio. It's a win-win-win-win, honestly, to just make them more human.
Yeah, I think also remember, because if you're listening and you want to do the same, right? We ran just video podcast, by the way, not just audio, right? So you could also see them. Personal journey and the why behind it. Why does unity matter to them? And I remember also on LinkedIn, one of the Zainers responded to Nawaf's podcast, for example. Wow, I've never seen my CEO like that. And I think that really makes the point that you want to bring across, right? It's a different way of looking at the sort of the holy distant leader versus, hey, this is also just a person not having all the answers, but hey, we have a vision, let's go and let's see if we can build it together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice. I hope you're enjoying this podcast episode so far. Just a very, very short, tiny interruption, because if you want to learn even more about successful CX transformation, then you can now join our Accelerate and Experience Academy, where I'll teach you everything that I've learned in the past 25 years, with, of course, the scientific background, but also very practical applications, examples, tools, and exercises. So if you're curious, just go to academy.zannavandera.com and hope to see you there. Nice. What was for you sort of the most, if you look back, let's say, and let's summarize it as 1 year, the last year, what was one thing where you feel, wow, I'm really most proud of what happened?
I'll tell you with an anecdote. So, this happened, I think, about 2 months ago. Within that time frame, I was in the elevator with a person from the call center, a person in management within the call center, and he mentioned to me that so we were just small talk. Hi, how are you doing? Hope everything's okay. Da, da, da. And within that half a minute journey, one of the first things that they wanted to bring up was that they were working on something for Unity, and I believe it was something around contact prevention, but that they were very proud of the fact that they were working on it for Unity, and that hopefully you're going to see it soon. The sort of buy-in to the program, whether or not you're directly linked to a module within it, and the sort of life that it takes on its own when it's activated properly is absolutely amazing to see. We've had presentations of people doing things for customer experience, but also for employee experience, that they've approached the Unity task force and the leadership on, hey, we've done this for Unity, and it's amazing to see. And that's, for me, one of the biggest successes and the things I'm most proud of is these people that are buying in, not just in responding to surveys or participating in a lecture here or there or a session. No, they're taking the extra steps that nobody necessarily told them to sort of deliver on this goal that we've set together. So that, for me, is the biggest thing.
It's starting to live sort of independently from the program now, right? So that's the essence of getting things in the DNA, I think, right?
Yeah, which is incredible to see.
Yeah, nice. I think it's also interesting because, of course, you don't have a customer experience background, right? So you started from scratch, let's say, in learning about customer experience. Yeah. Maybe you can blend in a bit of the, what was your learning journey? How did it feel? But also, what are sort of, the 3 best tips for somebody else, also either already responsible or looking to run a CX transformation program? What are the 3 top tips that you would give them?
Nice. So firstly, have somebody to guide you. Don't jump on it purely by yourself. So that's definitely one thing that I would say. Second thing is we're all experienced in customer experience. We've all been customers before.
Yeah.
So that, for me, keep continuing to frame ourselves within the shoes of the customer is one of the most obvious but also quite impactful elements that I've noticed in the various modules we're working on. be it in the journey workshops or the channel teams, it's just we're not just talking as process, because as employees, that's continuously our focus is, let's make the process streamlined as the back end. Let's focus on increasing conversions. It's all focused purely on business elements.
Yeah.
Taking it just a step back to what is a customer experience is, you don't necessarily need much experience or knowledge around just reframing that perspective. So that is immense, especially with the journey workshops. If you're taking the course that is provided on Accelerating Experience, within the journey workshops, I've noticed that there's a lot of, okay, we're not talking about the business journey or the process by which it happens. Rather, we're looking at what is a customer experience. So just reframing that sort of unlocked a lot of things for the people within the workshop. Oh, that's what they see when they're going through this, or that's what they're experiencing, or that contractor that for us is a contractor is actually for the customer, Zain. So reframing it from the customer's perspective shows you how important this bit is, rather than just a target or just reducing cost or increasing revenue. No, it's this person is Zain for the customer. So that reframing, the training, of course, do engage in actual trainings when it comes to customer experience, and drivers. Honestly, drivers can be read by almost anyone as long as you have data that can drive you towards what matters to the customer. You'll be able to make accurate decisions that will positively influence your customer satisfaction. I think those are the core things.
I think you're also pretty strong in, right, you and the team, in managing stakeholders, especially I think on the leadership level. Any specific tips there? You already mentioned, right, that of course they're busy and you need to make it tangible, but are there maybe some really concrete examples of what you've asked literally to C-level leaders to do? Because in my experience, they're always super willing, but are also always asking, okay, but Zanna, what can I do? And we need to make it really tangible. Do you have maybe a few examples of what you guys did?
So one of the obvious things is tell them, list it on a paper and tell them what can they do. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, this is what you should do 1, 2, and 3. It can be, these are 10 things that you could do, any of which would be tremendous in supporting us. And another thing that I would say is showing them the objectives. Obviously, they need to know, why are we headed there, but also how are we going to get there. And for the people who are a bit more, let's say, technical in the way that they do things, show them the numbers.
Yeah,
because the numbers will
new people need numbers.
Exactly. I needed numbers. just putting it in that perspective is inarguable, and you'll win over that CFO if you show them the numbers. And the numbers aren't just satisfaction, it's how is satisfaction impacting the revenue generation, how is it impacting the cost savings. Building that link will ensure that your program is not only allowed to operate, but prioritized at a whole different level.
Yeah, nice. I think so. I also talk about the 3 pillars, right? Customer, employee, and purpose. Mm-hmm. And I think you've also done some really nice, let's say, workshops and really designed the purpose pillar. And I think that's amazing for 2 reasons, because purpose can be really abstract, but I think it's also the fact that you sort of give this gift to employees, to Zainers, to help them figure out their personal purpose, I think is an amazing, let's say, employee benefit, right? So maybe you can share a bit about how did you guys approach that, and what did you do to make it come more alive?
Sure. So again, consult the experts.
Professor Dan Cable.
Exactly. So we met with Professor Dan. We explained to him what is it that we wanted to do, and what our purpose was with purpose, and he was super excited for the idea that an organization would engage with purpose at this scale with each and every employee. And we took guidance from him. We had several meetings. We discussed how to best approach it, especially within the frame of Unity. And purpose didn't come out of Unity purely. Purpose within Zain was first discussed, I believe it was around 2022, early 2023, where we had got our first chief purpose officer. So our existing CHRO got also assigned as the chief purpose officer, and with Unity was a perfect opportunity to sort of engage it at a whole new level. So we met with Dan, Professor Dan, and we brought him to Kuwait, and he hosted 3 amazing lectures with most of our employees available present within those lectures, and he shared with us the sort of importance of purpose. He shared with our Zainers the importance of purpose, and they all sort of walked out with, okay, now I see why purpose matters, and I want to have my own. So we didn't want to approach it with, hey, we have purpose workshops, you're all expected to come, and they don't know what purpose is, and then they don't know why it matters. It's just another training for them or another to-do that they have to check off. No, we wanted to first build...
Right?
Exactly. We wanted them to buy in before we even communicate to them about the workshops themselves. So we had the lectures, and within the lectures, we had a workshop separately provided by Professor Dan, which sort of gave us the framework where we were able to then build the entire purpose, let's say, module where we support our employees in identifying their purpose statements. And we did that over a course of 2 or 3 months. We engaged with within Zain Kuwait with almost every single employee and supported them in identifying what their purpose statements are. And then from that, we were able to identify Zain's purpose statement. So we've always been a very human company. And even within the surveys that we launched Unity with, we saw a strong sense of purpose within our employees. Everybody said that Zain has a purpose, and Zain is a purposeful organization. But when you ask people, what is Zain's purpose, you'd get various responses. And that's because it was never formalized as a statement, which is what we were very happy to have achieved with Unity, is that we now have a purpose, official purpose statement that everybody will be able to quote as, this is why Zain exists. And that came from our employees as well. So we took our values and we took our slogan, A Wonderful World, and we got the insights from these 800 or so employees that engaged in the purpose workshops. And we had our chiefs sit in a room, workshop it for a few hours with our chief purpose officer, and they were able to extract our purpose statement from that. And I think that is an amazing way of doing it, because the people are already bought in, because this purpose came from them. It wasn't something that came from the board or the CEO that said, hey, this is your purpose statement, feel it.
Now live it.
Exactly, yeah. No, it was built with our Zainers and from our Zainers, and that, I think, is a very strong way to position it.
Yeah, I think you sort of co-created purpose, right? I mean, it's not that there was no framework, but I think also it's so the reason that I also say there's an order, right? For me, it starts with customers, then employees, then purpose, because you can easily argue it could also be the other way around, right? I start with having a purpose. But for me, the reason for that is that purpose tends to be super abstract and pretty complex for people. And when you figure out the drivers of customers, it tends to be the human aspect. Hey, that's why I decided to work with Zain. Hey, that's meaningful work. And then you have an easier bridge to purpose. Can you maybe share an example of a response of an employee and how they felt engaging in this workshop, what it meant to them? I know I'm putting you on the spot right now, but...
No, I'm just thinking, okay, I don't want to share an employee-specific example, but I can share my own.
Yeah.
So one of the exercises that Professor Dan sort of guided us through is to identify stories where you felt like you were at your best.
Best self,
Yeah, best self, but also like this is what I was born to do.
Yeah.
So not only I was really good at this, but I was really good at this, and I want to do this. I can be great at working on Excels, but I might not feel like this is what I was born to do.
Makes me super happy.
Exactly. But with the stories, it was something that you felt like this is why I'm here. And that's a very difficult thing to question, and especially with your fellow colleagues in a room with 10 other people, it's a very difficult thing to consider, especially with various people having very emotional, personal stories, and to be able to share that is tremendous. So I did do that, and then I did identify my story, and it was incredible to me to sort of not just have the story, but to reflect on it to the point where I can identify that this is the reason that, one, that story matters to me, and two, as to why I want to continue to do things such as that. And it brings the whole concept of purpose from this very hazy, unclear subject to maybe you won't walk out with an exact purpose statement, but you'll have a much stronger sense of, okay, this is why I'm at Zain, this is why I do what I do, and this is how I'll link it further. So this is how I'll change the way that I do things, or the way I look at the way I do things, in relation to why I initially joined this place and why I am doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think that the power you will unlock when you enable employees, first of all, to discover your own personal purpose, but then also figure out, okay, but maybe, I don't know, maybe my personal purpose is helping people at the food bank, right? And then people always say, okay, I have my job and I have something that I care about. But hey, what if through Zain I can help people at the food bank, right? So really connecting the workplace with my personal purpose, to me that's a super cool ambition.
Yeah, 100%. And then hopefully some things coming soon on that specifically.
Ooh, cliffhanger. All right, looking a bit ahead, what do you hope to achieve next? What's sort of next for Unity, and when do you feel your mission would be completed?
So hopefully to complete this mission is one of the targets. I would say having Unity launched within all of our operations and across the various levels of service that we have in each of the countries in the very different worlds. I want to be able to have a sort of Zain standard of experience, as in we as a brand name Zain, people can expect this from us, this being an experience wherever they are, be it in Kuwait, in Iraq, Sudan, South Sudan, Saudi, wherever they are, they can expect that Zain is the best in that region, whether they were the first telco or the last telco, whether they're working in telco or they're experiencing our fintech solutions. That for me is a main goal. Two is the unity across the operations. Having the sense of, I'm not just an employee of Zain in Kuwait, rather I'm an employee of Zain, and that means that I have colleagues in Bahrain, I have colleagues in Saudi, I have colleagues in Sudan, and that sort of sense of, honestly, I think will give a sense of strength to the employees that I can rely on my colleague in Bahrain from HR, because they have done this exercise before and I can learn a lot from them rather than start from new. And that is, I think for me, something that is very exciting.
I think you just went full circle, Fahed, because you mentioned that you started, with the boring engineering bridge job, but I think you're building bridges between people.
Well done, very well done.
Anything we forgot to mention where you feel, hey, Zanna, this, before we wrap up, this is definitely something I felt like we missed or didn't talk about?
I think we covered everything. My one point would be, just do it. As in, don't spend too much time on trying to draw out the entire journey of the transformation. Exactly. You can't plan 3 years ahead and expect it all to happen exactly as per plan.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have a 6-month plan that is solid, but rather than a 3-year plan that is going to take me another 3 years to prepare for.
Yeah.
Just begin and then engage your employees and make sure you communicate to them thoroughly everything that you're doing so that they know what's happening and that they feel like they're part of it.
Yeah. I think that also goes back to your growth mindset, right? Keep learning, experimenting, have sort of a 75% direction and the rest figure it out along the way.
Exactly. Yeah. I love the sense of playfulness that you helped create here is that let's test things. A/B testing works. Have 5% of whatever you're trying to do on your new method and then keep the 95%. If the 5% works out, expand it. If it doesn't, you know that you can try something new.
Yeah. All right, dear Fahed. Shukran. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story.
Absolute pleasure and tremendously honored for the invite, and I look forward to you hopefully supporting people change the world.
let's both keep doing our magic and then see what happens.
100%.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks so
Zan.
much.